It is a big night in Philadelphia and really across the United States. The high-stakes debate between former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris could give voters a clearer picture of each candidate. And dozens of attorneys general across the U.S., including Oregon, are pressing Congress for a social media warning label. They think it's fueling the growing mental health crisis among teens.
Nope. I think everybody was shocked. Everybody.
Plus, a former youth cheer coach in St. Helens arrested and charged with multiple counts of sexual abuse of minors, and police think there could be more victims. That is our top story here at 4 o'clock. Thank you for joining us. I'm Christine Pitawanich. Let's get right to our Blair Best, who's live outside the cheer and tumbling gym in St. Helens. Blair, what more can you tell us?
Christine, this has really come as a shock to the entire St. Helens community. We're told that this gym here behind me, Vault Elite, is one of the few places that local kids spend a lot of time. But classes are running as the investigation that's rattled this community continues.
This is 27-year-old Anthony Trenkler. He's in jail facing multiple charges of sexual abuse. St. Helens police arrested him Friday, September 6th, after a 3-week investigation. Trenkler was a 15-year coach at Vault Elite Cheer, a staple in the St. Helens community.
Well, we were devastated.
Ashley Wynn's daughter owns the gym, where Trenkler taught children between the ages of 3 and 17.
It's stressful.
He was the only male out of the 3 coaches on staff. He has since been fired.
It came out of left field. It really did. Because he was so loved. You know, we trusted him. We've had him in our home. And it seems out of character, but we don't know.
Court documents allege Trenkler sexually abused 3 girls, all under the age of 14. It's unclear where each of the alleged incidents happened, but Wynn believes some of the abuse took place in a storage loft above the gym floor.
My grandkids, they were exposed to him too. In the cheer world, it's very hands-on, so this would be a culture where it could happen, Our coaches are hands-on, and so if someone had ill intent, they could do it.
That's not to say the gym doesn't try to prevent it.
When they do a background check, this is what we get back. Actually, today we're putting up more cameras. I think we got 8 more.
Trenkler pleaded not guilty in court Monday and, per the judge, is not allowed around minors.
We want the focus to be on finding out the truth and having all the victims, if there are more, come forward. That's our focus.
Now, St. Helens police are concerned there could be more victims, so anyone with information is encouraged to give them a call. As for Trenkler, he's due back in court later this month. Christine?
Blair Best reporting for us in St. Helens. Thank you, Blair. To Washington County now. This is our first look at the man accused of murdering a Beaverton nurse. 27-year-old Bryce Schubert is charged in the death of his neighbor, 32-year-old Melissa Jubain. Today's hearing was pretty quick. A judge was appointed to the case. Schubert appeared remotely in court yesterday, but our cameras were unable to see him. He has pleaded not guilty to 3 charges: murder, kidnapping, and abuse of a corpse. Schubert is due back in court on Monday. And police in both Oregon and Alabama hope you keep your eyes peeled for a man accused of a series of sex crimes against children. Take a look at your screen right now. Back in June, 39-year-old Adam Rank was indicted in Wasco County on multiple charges involving a child under the age of 12. Rank is also facing charges out of Mobile, Alabama for alleged sex crimes against a child there, but authorities say he left the state last month after posting bond. They say Rank is likely traveling in a converted ambulance painted white and gray. A Gresham firefighter is finally going home after spending more than 3 months in the hospital. He was severely burned while responding to a house fire in May. Our Kyle Aboshi is live outside Legacy Emmanuel Medical Center in North Portland. Kyle, what a journey.
This is a big step for that injured firefighter. He'll be moved to a rehab facility for 2 to 3 weeks before hopefully returning home to his wife and 2 boys. Dozens of firefighters cheered today. It was an emotional scene as Spencer Tejedas was discharged from the Oregon Burn Center at Legacy Emmanuel Medical Center. He's been hospitalized for nearly 3 months after responding to a fire at a duplex in Gresham on May 30th. The blaze triggered a flashover, officials say, engulfing firefighters in flames. 3 firefighters were injured, 2 of them treated and released. but Tejedas suffered severe burns on more than 45% of his body.
Firefighters did what firefighters do. And sometimes that means you always know there's a risk. You're putting your life on the line, so to speak. He literally did.
That investigation determined the fire was accidental, caused by an unattended candle. Back to you.
So glad he survived and is making progress. Thank you for the update, Kyle. Oregon's Attorney General has joined a long list of AGs across the U.S. who want Congress to put a warning label on social media sites. Devin Haskins has been looking into this, and Devin, this comes a few months after the U.S. Surgeon General made the same recommendation.
Yeah, that's right. And today, Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum signing that long list, or joining that long list of AGs, asking for that warning label to be put on social media sites. But the big question remains is, will it work?
This is the defining public health challenge of our time.
It was just under 3 months ago, U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy calling social media a factor in the growing mental health crisis in teens.
When adolescents spend more than 3 hours a day on social media, we're seeing an association with a doubling of risk of anxiety and depression symptoms.
The U.S. Surgeon General wanting Congress to take action and put a warning label on social media sites. A similar type of warning like you'd see on a carton of cigarettes.
A warning label would help parents to understand these risks. Many parents don't know that those risks exist.
But will it work?
One label is not going to solve the issue.
Kristen Culpepper is a parent of 2 kids, not yet on social media.
More information is always better than less, but really it's up to the adult in the household to really moderate and educate beforehand.
Joining in that call for more to be done, 42 attorneys general from both sides of the aisle across the U.S. In a letter to the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority and Minority Leaders, the National Association of Attorneys General writing in favor of the warning, saying, quote, by mandating a Surgeon General's warning on algorithm-driven social media platforms, Congress can help abate this growing crisis and protect future generations of Americans. Social media platforms have come under fire recently in Congress about the effects their products have on teens.
There's the content in the app, but then there's the experience of the user. And so I spent a lot of time asking, it's like, notice how you feel when you're on it.
Ishai Busi is a family therapist in Portland.
Yeah.
He says a warning label would help, but
people are going to walk right through it like a wet paper towel if they want to, you know. But if it can just contribute to having more conversations about this, to pausing and reflecting and just thinking for a moment in a way that maybe I wouldn't have thought about before.
Some ideas on how to delay or curb phone use is have phone-free times, let's say at school, at home, dinner time, bedtime, social gatherings. And also delay social media accounts until after that student is out of middle school, like in high school. Back to you.
Yeah, good tips. Also, I'm sure easier said than done for parents. Thank you, Devin. Tonight is the night. We're talking about the first presidential debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. Both candidates are in Philadelphia, where they will meet for the first time. Dasha Burns joins us now from Philadelphia. Dasha, what are we expecting each of the 2 candidates to be focusing on in tonight's debate?
Well, look, this is as high stakes as a debate can get. In some ways, for a lot of voters who haven't been paying attention, tonight is when this election starts. It's the first time they'll see both candidates that are in such stark contrast to one another in just about every way, from the way they've prepared for this debate to likely how they'll execute on this stage tonight. For former President Trump, his campaign has been trying to get him to focus on policy over personal attacks. They want him to try to tie Vice President Harris to the Biden administration, to some of the frustrations that voters may be feeling about the economy, about immigration, issues where the former president does well in polling, trying to tie Harris to what this administration has done on those issues. They're also going to try to tie Harris to some of the statements that she made that were a little bit more progressive, more far to the left back in 2020 when she was running for president, try to paint her as too radical a liberal for most voters to stomach. On the other hand, Vice President Harris, her team has been prepping her for taking on some of those attacks that they might expect from the former president, and also to try to antagonize him, try to get under his skin, try to get him to go off script and go low, if you will, so that voters can see him in that context. And she also has the duty of trying to introduce herself to voters, many of whom aren't as familiar with her and want to get more details on what exactly she plans to do to improve the lives of Americans.
Yeah, interesting to hear about the strategies behind the scenes here. But Dasha, ahead of this debate, a lot of talk as well about the rules here and the mic situation specifically. Give us a bit of an idea about how we're expecting tonight's debate to really play out.
So it's going to look almost exactly, Christine, like the CNN debate between former President Trump and President Biden. That's something that the Trump campaign heavily pushed for. That's 90 minutes, no audience, and mics muted when you're not speaking. The Harris campaign was really irked by that. They wanted mics unmuted, potentially to create some of those moments I was talking about earlier of getting under his skin, getting an explosive reaction out of the former president that might not look so good for him. But those mics will be muted. So that's a benefit to former President Trump. But there is no audience, which is often something that really amps him up and that he works off of. So that might be a benefit to Vice President Harris, but very similar rules-wise, visuals-wise to what we saw in that last debate.
Yeah, as you said, high stakes. A lot of people looking forward to this one. Again, Dasha Burns reporting for us from Philadelphia this evening. Thank you, Dasha. And you can watch tonight's debate moderated by ABC News right here on KGW. Nightly news starts at 4:30, followed by NBC's special coverage of the debate, which begins at 5 o'clock. Then the debate begins at 6. After that, stick around after the debate for a special edition of KGW News at 8 p.m. Also, immediately following the presidential debate, the candidates for Washington governor will be going head-to-head. Democrat Bob Ferguson will be debating Republican Dave Reichert starting at 8 o'clock. You can watch that live on KGW.com or on our streaming app, KGW Plus.